coming up next on Functional Moms Podcast.
As we're aging and we have all that oxidative stress causing inflammation, turmeric goes in there and reverses the things that are causing the oxidation in the first place. It also reduces that chronic low-grade persistent inflammation. Then in high doses and the right potency, it can also just be a general pain reliever. So a lot of people take it for their joint pain, acute or chronic. Now, turmeric's also antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. So I use it all the time for my immune system, just to hold myself at healthy or pre-travel, post-travel, things like that. It's also anti-obesity. It's anti-diabetic. It is so good for the metabolism, supportive of the gut microbiome. We know it helps with the joint pain. It has this ability to kill off all the zombie cells or things that accumulate in the body that shouldn't be there. And so that I like too. Curcumin's kind of like this ultimate janitor that goes in there, and as we age, we know we have this accumulation of zombie cells. Zombie cells are just cells that turn the wrong way and become damaging and run into everything and damage us from the inside. Curcumin just goes in there and cleans them out.
Welcome to Functional Moms Podcast, lifestyle medicine for women over 40. Let's age on our own terms.
This episode is for you if you're a woman over 40 looking for better recovery after workouts and natural solutions to aches, pains, and body inflammation. As we age, we all become susceptible to inflammation, and we don't want this to hold us back when pursuing our health and fitness goals.
Our guest today is Dr. Shivani Gupta, an Ayurvedic practitioner, wellness expert, and passionate advocate for holistic health. She completed her PhD dissertation on turmeric, the spice.
Dr. Shivani is the creator of Fusionary Formulas and host of the popular podcast Fusionary Health. She is an Ayurveda and inflammation expert, and she is going to help us age better.
Yay. Dr. Shivani, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We would love to hear your story and how you became an Ayurvedic practitioner.
Sure. Thank you for having me. So I grew up in Houston, Texas, to an immigrant family. And what's interesting is every year of my life, we would go to India. So we would visit my grandparents, my cousins. And growing up, I unfortunately saw the after effects of having diabetes and what that looks like decades in. And so I saw my grandparents going through quadruple bypasses, Parkinson's, leg amputation, stroke, heart attack. And I thought, whoa, that is a horrible end game. Why is it that we work so hard, but at the end we're doing so much disease management? And I thought that can't happen to me. And then simultaneously, I grew up always sick, always feeling like I didn't have an immune system. I'd end up in India disastrously sick, taking crazy antibiotics again and again. And so by the time I got to college, I realized, wow, not only is my genetics and my future health, my family history really bad, I also am looking at myself like, there's a weak link here. And if I don't address my health issues, I'm always going to be sick. So I went on a journey to discover what can I do to win at my health. And I was in India and I discovered Ayurveda. And I thought, wow, Ayurvedic medicine is this ancient science. It's this ancient wisdom. Let me go check it out. Let me see if it can help me. And when I did, I realized, wow, Ayurveda is all about gut health and how that builds immune health, how it can build vitality and strength and the energy that we want. So I went about studying it. I did my master's in Ayurvedic sciences. I did my PhD on turmeric, as you mentioned. And then I became quite a turmeric fanatic. And I truly believe that turmeric is one key tool in the entire toolkit that we should be using when it comes to inflammation in our health. And now I'm already in my mid-40s. It's 20 years later in my studies. And now I have to say it, perimenopause in mid-40s is a whole different ballgame than ever before. And so I'm having to reach into the toolkit and pull out like a 3x level of the tools to really drive the results and maintain my health, my fitness, and everything at the level that I want to.
Yeah, I think this is such an important topic for our listeners because we really do notice more inflammation as we're getting into our 40s. Aches and pains maybe are a little bit more frequent. So what can we do, I guess? And like, what are the signs that you're inflamed?
Well, when we're inflamed, a lot of times people don't realize they're inflamed because the signs are kind of subtle. It's sometimes your skin reacting. And we're like, oh, that's just eczema. That's just a rash. That's just psoriasis. That's a skin issue. Sometimes it's digestive issues. And pretty much everyone has IBS. So us getting bloated or always feeling unwell or not being able to eat a lot of different foods, we attribute to, oh, that's just aging or who knows. We forget that that can be inflammation as well. Frequent headaches. A lot of times that headache situation is an indication of inflammation. Oftentimes joint pain, aches, just achiness, waking up stiff, having our joints stiff in the morning, that's a definite sign of inflammation. And then finally, brain fog. Like a lot of times we aren't functioning well. We've got brain fog, we've got fatigue, and we don't understand what to attribute that to. And what's interesting is most people call it aging. They're like, oh, I'm just aging. This just sucks. Unfortunately, this is how it's going to be. But the thing is, we have a term in the health and wellness world, inflammaging. So when we're inflamed, oftentimes that shows up and looks like aging symptoms, but really it's inflammation that's the culprit. It's this low-grade, chronic, persistent forest fire that's wreaking damage within us. And that damage is causing our symptoms to kind of crop up. And usually we wait till it's 4 or 5 symptoms before we put the puzzle pieces together and say, whoa, okay, maybe there's a root cause here. But by then, oftentimes we've run to a lot of different specialists and we're already taking 5 different things for 5 different problems, because rarely does someone sit and connect those dots with us and help us. So that's where I think holistic integrative medicine is really having its moment, because people are realizing I'm suffering, but no one's really giving me a clear answer other than NSAIDs and let's just cut down this inflammation, and I don't want to take 18 pills for my problems. And so inflammation is really this low-grade persistent fire. And what we underestimate is the number of things that cause inflammation in the first place. So things as, of course, diet can cause inflammation, seed oils, sugar, inflammatory foods, things like that, fried foods, those can cause inflammation. Poor sleep can cause inflammation. High stress, which we've all had periods of our life that could have been really high stress, can cause inflammation. Environmental toxin, our dirty air, dirty water, a lot of things in our environment can cause inflammation. Maybe in our own home, we've got a toxic burden that we're building up through practices in our kitchen, laundry room, or bathroom, skincare. All of that can add up. Viruses and bacteria can cause inflammation. So there's that as well. And then finally, it's interesting. I think we underestimate how our own lack of stress resilience in this chaotic world leads to us always being in our sympathetic nervous system and not in parasympathetic. And thus the body's in a state of inflammation because it's trying to hold up a whole battle against everything outside without addressing what's inside. And the last one is gut. If gut health is off, we're going to have inflammation, or if we have leaky gut. So Ayurveda really looks at this from the whole perspective of your fire within you, that inflammatory fire. Let's talk about how to manage it. And let's talk about how to control it and build a healthy fire as opposed to one that's damaging us from the inside.
Would this be considered, all these inflammations that you were referring to? Is this low grade inflammation? Because you always hear about, like, are those examples of low grade inflammation? And is there a high, like, what's the difference? Like, how do we know if we have low grade, high grade
Sure.
inflammation?
So, for example, if you go to the gym, you lift and you irritate the heck out of something, your elbow starts hurting, and you know you're not going to be able to lift on that elbow the next day. That's acute inflammation. You pulled something, you irritated something badly. That inflammation, maybe it's tendinitis, something, that inflammation is now going to be dealt with. Either you're going to take an NSAID for the pain, or you can take turmeric for the pain, which is what I'm all about, or you're going to address it with ice. We have different tools for acute inflammation in the body. Usually acute inflammation is swelling, redness, and pain. And so we go after that and we address it. Then there's chronic low-grade persistent inflammation. Most of us are carrying this, but we're not seeing any loud specific sign. And then typically in our 40s, I find each decade that we go forward, those symptoms get a little louder and then a little louder. So I would say mid-40s is that, in my case, is the first time I was like, whoa, aging is taking a actual toll. I do get frequent headache. My gut health isn't right. Do have brain fog. I keep irritating things at the gym. Like, the pileup was more significant than ever and required this double down investment in all the things that reduce inflammation. Because as we age, we're going to inevitably have more oxidative stress. We're going to inevitably have our cells not functioning well anymore. We're going to have more inflammation. We're going to have more zombie cells running around damaging everything. And so, like you said, acute versus chronic, the likeliness of chronic inflammation is, in my opinion, nearly 100% in us as a population. And so our job is to build an anti-inflammatory lifestyle to combat that.
And in conventional medicine, that low grade inflammation sort of doesn't get discussed that much, because if you're having headaches, they would just say, well, take some Advil, like it doesn't really, no one really talks about that. So I guess you think you're just normal. And I guess you are normal in the scope of how the average person ages, but we want to be better than normal here. We want to be optimal, right? So that's where I guess you can come into play to help us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we want to thrive as we age. And last year I was presenting at a longevity conference and I spent 4 months building this slide deck. I was presenting at A4M in Vegas. And as I researched aging and the effects of turmeric on aging, every single thing I read said, wow, you're going to have all your cells decline, your mitochondria is going to decline, everything will slow down. You're basically on this downhill slide. And I just read that and thought, no freaking way. I'm not doing that. I don't sign up for that plan. I need a different plan called, no, I want to keep my brain function. I want to keep my focus, my memory, my energy. I want to keep great gut health, which is my metabolism and my immune system. I want to keep a metabolism that's churning and burning. I want to look this way for the next 30 years. What do you mean everything's going to slow down and I have to give up everything? I don't think that's fair. And so as I read it, I was like, what am I going to do as my action plan to combat this? And so I kind of deployed. I always have to sit down and write my own prescription as if I'm a client. And I wrote out, one, you are going to eat an anti-inflammatory diet with super spices and superfoods like it's your job. You're going to get real diligent about each meal as an opportunity to put nutrient density in the body because this body is going to need it as I'm aging. Number two, you're going to take turmeric in all your supplements because you need to really supplement the body as things decline and slow down. The body needs even more support for all of its pathways to work properly. Number three, you're going to obsess about sleep. Sleep better be on point. It's a respect and honoring of sleep. And so I've really put my sleep on a pedestal. Right around 9, I'm like, everyone, I'm going to bed. I try to align the house to bed, and if the teens don't want to sleep, I don't care. I have to sleep. And I use my sleep tea, my sleep gummies. Like I have a whole song and dance around great quality sleep. So I clear inflammation and I have energy the next day. Then it comes to gut health. I honor gut health. Great probiotics, great fiber, all the things you have to do nowadays to invest in gut health is probably 10 times more than we've ever had to do. But I think it's so important to have good gut practices. And in Ayurveda, we teach that inside of us, there's a gut digestive fire called our Agni. And so that Agni is to be opened up and ready to go in the morning, churning and burning. That's our metabolism as well. And that's what's going to help us go through the day, really processing and absorbing all the benefits from our food. And then finally, I lift, I yoga, I walk. Like I really have to make sure that movement is a non-negotiable, which is hard because sometimes we get busy. And
Hmm.
for me, it's become important to change my workouts. I used to do a lot of HIIT training. Now I do a lot more lifting and yoga and walking instead. So that shift was a big deal because I was pretty addicted to my HIIT workouts. But I've changed the formula of what I'm doing to drive a different result based on
Mm.
age. And so I think it's just so important as we're aging, we look at what are those factors that are going to cause aging. I know I'm going to age naturally. That's fine. But I just want to maintain my vibrancy and vitality the best I can as I age instead of just giving up and saying, okay, I'm going to get more inflamed. I'm going to get more oxidative stress. I give up and it'll just be this decline at whatever rate happens.
Yeah, I love that you wrote yourself a prescription and that you're completely switching things up. I mean, I know when we're younger, we can get away with some of that stuff and it's not going to matter as much. But definitely, like you said, once you hit definitely 45 and up, it's really going to make a big difference. So I guess we really wanted to touch with you on the doshas in Ayurveda because we find that really interesting and thought that that could help the listeners.
Absolutely. So the doshas are really fun. It's important to take a dosha quiz because the dosha quiz will tell you your dosha. I have one on my website at shivanigupta.com. But when you take that quiz, you'll see it's going to ask all sorts of questions about yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally that'll help discern what your primary constitution is. Your dosha is basically your mind body constitution. It's a template to help understand yourself better, and it's made of the elements. So, vata dosha, the first one, in the West we pronounce it vata. A vata person is typically thin and wiry, taller or shorter than everyone in their demographic. They're very light, creative, they're always free flowing. When you meet a vata, they're like, yeah, I just had like tea and green juice all day. I forgot to eat. And some of us are like, what? How did you forget to eat? Who forgets? But those people who can snack and nibble all day, they are the artists oftentimes. They create things and start all sorts of things, but they might not finish all of them. So they can kind of be looked at like flakes because they might not complete what they start. But it's because the elements of vata are air and ether. They're just like a wind blowing through the world and always in motion and creativity. This is someone who's kind of always in motion. The tendency of vata is anxiety, disrupted digestion, constipation, dryness, disrupted sleep. So they have their own list of health issues that can crop up based on their doshic imbalances. And so for a vata person, we have certain recommendations around eat grounding, warming foods, eat healthy fats, eat 3 times a day, so that they can all of a sudden really thrive within their constitution, finish those projects, win at everything that they start. Then you have a pitta dosha, Pitta, and we pronounce it pitta here in the West. So if you're a pitta person, you're more medium bodied, might have a reddish skin tone, reddish hair. Pitta people are fiery. So the element for them is fire with some water. So a Pitta person's sharp, determined, passionate, focused, driven. This is someone who kind of has the traits of a volcano. So in a normal day, they're just great, but on a bad day, they can explode. They get overburnt, burnt out. They really they're ignited. Sometimes they can kind of, what is the word for a volcano? Like erupt on everyone around them. And the people closest to them can be collateral damage. So Pittas have to be a little careful. So my guidance to Pittas is stay cool, cooling foods, cooling beverages, hydrate all day. Pittas get really hangry. I'm a Pitta, so we have to eat on time or else the whole world ends. So eating on time at our meal times is important. And Pittas tend to be inflamed, tend to eat all the things we're not supposed to. We love fried food, spicy food, hot foods. We tend to get heartburn, everything that's too much fire in the system. And so our job is to cool that down, move in nature, sleep well. There's different protocols for Pitta. And then finally, there's Kapha. A Kapha person is going to be bigger bodied, bigger boned, stronger. They can lift heavier. This is, when you look at ectomorph, mesomorph, this is that person who's got a much stronger constitution. They have round features, so a round face, round eyes, maybe oily, curly hair, oilier skin, very supple, beautiful skin. This is someone whose personality is more loyal, one thing at a time. They're like Mother Nature. They're the caretaker, very grandma type. They take care of everyone around them. And so a Kapha person might struggle with a slower metabolism, slower digestion. They have very heavy slumber and sleep. They can sleep the 10 hours and sleep in. But our job with them is really to get their energy moving in the morning. And once they sit down in the evening, a Kapha person will never get up. Like they're done once they sit on the couch. It's like Mother Earth sat down for the day and she's done. And so it's so important to understand what is your dosha, what is the dosha of the people you love, so you can honor that within them and kind of manage and support your whole family, your whole household, your team around you. And so doshas is a great way to self-understand what is your constitution and how to manage all aspects of your life based on your constitution, because it affects our seasonality, how we function in different seasons, how productive we are. You can plan your vacations around your dosha based on balancing yourself in certain seasons. So there's a lot to it once you understand your constitution.
Sure. And you can be a combination. Is that correct? Because I feel like when I hear you explain it, I see myself in maybe two of them. So, okay.
Sure. So you can have a primary dosha and you can have a secondary dosha. Your dosha is decided at birth. It's the combination of your parents and your time of birth and where you're born and what you were meant to be in this life. And then through our lives, we can get really imbalanced. It can happen that you just completely shift. Like post kids, I went from being a pitta to really being kapha in balance. And my life was all about the caretaking, nurturing piece. And it took time to kind of balance back into my original dosha.
Wow.
Interesting. And so, like you said, you have a website. Can you just mention that again that people can
Yeah.
go check it out?
It's on my website, drshivani.com, DrShivani.
Perfect. So people can check that out and see what they are. And so what, after you figure that out, what would you recommend doing next? Like, if you,
So once you know your dosha, I think what's great is it's really a self acknowledgement. It's a self understanding of, oh, that's why I am the way I am. I think it's why we're so into astrology and human design, because it gives us a self understanding of, oh, that's why my nature is the way it's that's why my nature is the way it is. Instead of defying it and battling it all the time, I'm going to accept it and now work with it. And so in my case, as a pitta, I get it now. I am going to be hangry. And if people cross me, it's not going to be good. And after 6, if I want to be nice to my children, I have to really plan for that. So I built a rhythm to my whole life. I wake up, I get them ready, I work out, I get my beautiful work day. I have to stop at high tea, 3:30, have tea, pause, caffeinate, eat a good snack. Then I'm ready for the motherhood job after school and all those responsibilities. And I probably still need to walk in nature in the evening just to decompress and settle before we finish homework and finish the night. I have to honor sleep. So you really learn how to customize your circadian rhythm and your life rhythm to your dosha. And that alone can be really transformational. For example, let's say you're a vata and you're like, I just want to lift like 5 times my body weight. Sorry, a vata body type is not literally going to do that usually. So instead of battling with yourself for things you believe are good for you, you start to understand what is actually good for you and how to thrive within your own constitution.
that's amazing because in wellness, we're so often just chasing the next thing, like you need to lift heavy. So do that, and maybe, yeah, it's not right for you.
Yeah, I think it's just so important to self understand your own constitution. I think it's so important in this day and age we understand inflammation and how it's getting in our way. And so once you understand your dosha and you start balancing that, you're naturally going to balance your inflammation and all these other aspects of your health. And so going back to that topic of inflammation, oftentimes inflammation is that culprit that's stopping us from achieving our health goal. When it comes to weight loss, when it comes to feeling the way we want to feel, when it comes to keeping ourselves in the gym. This year I had plantar fasciitis and it drove me nuts. I had it and I thought, okay, I wanted this last time, so I'll just take it easy. And I think in our 40s, take it easy and take a break is not the method to heal anything. Unfortunately, the body doesn't heal as fast. It's a sign of chronic inflammation, right? Chronic inflammation's on board, healing isn't going to happen. And so and I'm an anti-NSAID person. I'm a pro turmeric person. So I took a month off from walking, and walking is one of my favorite ways to move and decompress. Then I stopped losing weight because I normally can maintain my weight well, and all of a sudden everything started creeping in the wrong direction. I was like, oh no, my A1C is going to go up, my cholesterol is going to go up. This is bad. I tried to deal with treatment in a natural way, kept running to PT. We weren't able to heal it. I tried a peptide in my foot. That didn't work. It worked partially. And so finally, 4 months later, after pain, not moving as much, yes, I used turmeric, but couldn't lift heavy because I would feel it in my feet. Like you can't squat with 60 pounds on your back, 50 pounds, if your heels won't let you put the pressure into your feet. Finally, I got a cortisone shot in my feet. And I really wish I had been humble enough to do that in the first month. My new attitude is when you irritate something, set a deadline, put it on your calendar. And by that deadline, let's say it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it is for you, you're going to take the intervention that's offered, that's on the table for everybody, so that you can heal and then move forward. And moving forward, in my case, I can be as natural and holistic as I want, but it's just important to get the intervention in place so you don't have a decline in function, movement, and we don't lose time. And so it was really a humbling moment this year to learn, okay, at 44, my body's not going to just heal naturally from things just because I leave it alone. Chronic low-grade inflammation is there in all of us. It's going to increase over time, and we have to take more interventions, like real interventions, to get things on their track so we can keep going.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice that, we can't just discount that, if it's not gonna heal naturally, we should use the medicine. Like, we need you need to have a balance.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty anti-medicine and anti-intervention. And now it's been a humbling year where even perimenopause, I've chosen to go through HRT, really bolster up testosterone, progesterone, thyroid. And I think that it's been humbling because I'm so pro-natural. And so my new attitude is absolutely, I'm going to do all my natural things. I truly believe natural is the way to go. But I'm more ready and more open to what are the things we need on board as women to optimize, because that threshold of holding vibrant health is changing and it's moving year to year based on the stressors and the things in our lives. Could be your kids this year, could be your work, could be a setback from your workouts or lifting or an injury. Who knows what's holding you back? But whatever that is, don't let it be a whole quarter of your year that you're going to sacrifice to it. Instead, really sit down, understand all the options, set those deadlines with yourself and address them. Because I see a lot of people who reach out to me for their health and they do consultations with me and they're like, well, I have poor sleep, chronic joint pain, fatigue, and gut issues. That's called inflammation. And let's get you moving. Because the more we're moving and moving our energy, the better we're going to feel. But if we're constantly depleted and exhausted, starving, not eating all the food and nutrients we need, then we're not going to win at the long run, going into 50s, 60s, and 70s. I really think of it now as a full court press. Like, what is the game plan to defy aging and instead, like I said at the beginning, really hold ourselves as vibrant and thriving? And so for that, I take turmeric. I use adaptogens from Ayurveda. That's why I've been playing in this world with turmeric for so long. Is turmeric is one of the most well-received spices by the body. Turmeric has this powerful ability to be anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and so much more.
It's basically the all or nothing mindset. Right. I love how you said, you've been humbled and you're like, hey, there is a space for this. Give yourself a timeline and just like integrating. It's like integrative health. You're integrating like the things that are available to all of us. And of course, you have your preference. We're also dealing, I think, in this day and age with so much more than, the previous generations in like this stage. And so that's very interesting because as you're talking, I've been going through like an elbow injury and I'm listening to you talking about like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not taking Advil. I'm not doing the shot. And so I've been suffering for a minute, and it's very interesting to hear your so I'm going to humble myself moving forward.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It keeps us away from functionality, right? Like I just worked out after 2 weeks of not being in the gym. My mood is at a
Oh,
completely different level than it was over the last week. And I knew I wasn't working out enough and I was just walking a bit because of my feet. And I thought, wow, you could have dealt with this 4 months ago, but you're
right,
stubborn. You waited first for it to heal naturally. Nothing happened. Okay, you took turmeric things. That's fine. I love turmeric, but plantar fasciitis is pretty specific. We walk on our feet all day, so we're irritating the problem
right.
constantly. It took me 2 months before I finally ordered this peptide and asked the ortho surgeon to inject me. And I was so worried about it, and it did hurt, but it was tolerable. It didn't kill me. And I was later informed, like, you could have had so many options. There were so many options on the table the whole time. You just didn't go find them out. I could have done, stem cell in my feet, PRP in my feet, and there was this cortisone injection from the beginning that would have been offered. And so now I can walk. I can walk down the street and I have no pain. And I'm like, you could have taken this on day 14, day 30. And so that's just my encouragement, because if your happiness is tied to movement and lifting and yoga, which mine is, then don't deprive of yourself of that, because we are so natural. I'm the most natural organic girl you've ever met. I obsess about food quality, local food, organic food. We only cook food fresh. We never heat it in the microwave or in plastic. We store it in glass. I'm one of those people. But I think there's a new hybrid solution as we age to win. And we're even seeing that with metabolism right now. Look at what's happening to our metabolism as a country. Everyone's reaching for injections and solutions because they're fed up and frustrated. And it's not
Yeah.
easy to win at weight management, health, vibrancy as we age. But what's cool is Ayurveda said from the beginning, this comes down to your gut digestive fire. You can build a stronger gut digestive fire yourself. Gut health is the center of all health. Gut health is the center of your brain health and your mood and your metabolism and your immune system as well. I focus a lot on gut. We know that circadian rhythm and sleeping on time is what builds your entire ability to recover and clear inflammation and detox the system, which is so important through our aging process. And then we talk about super spices, where I love talking about turmeric and these things.
Yes, yeah, that's where we would love to ask you, what are curcumin and turmeric, or turmeric? How do you say it even? I might be saying it wrong.
No, so I always said turmeric, but everyone says turmeric. So now I just say turmeric so people
Okay.
understand me. So you've got it right. So basically, turmeric, as most of us know, is a rhizome. It's a plant, it's a sister plant to ginger. And I fell in love with turmeric because when I was sitting in my herbology class and they were explaining the benefits, I thought, I've eaten turmeric every day for my life. And you're telling me it can do all of that for our health? And with my family history, like, we should have been overdosing on turmeric the whole time for what you're telling me it does. And so when I embarked on that dissertation, I learned that turmeric affects heart health, it affects gut health, it has a positive effect on the gut microbiome. Most importantly, it's anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. So as we're aging and we have all that oxidative stress causing inflammation, turmeric goes in there and reverses the things that are causing the oxidation in the first place. It also reduces that chronic low-grade persistent inflammation. Then in high doses and the right potency, it can also just be a general pain reliever. So a lot of people take it for their joint pain, acute or chronic. Now, turmeric's also antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. So I use it all the time for my immune system, just to hold myself at healthy, or pre-travel, post-travel, things like that. It's also anti-obesity. It's anti-diabetic. It is so good for the metabolism, supportive of the gut microbiome. We know it helps with the joint pain. It has this ability to kill off all the zombie cells or things that accumulate in the body that shouldn't be there. And so that I like too. Curcumin's kind of like this ultimate janitor that goes in there. And as we age, we know we have this accumulation of zombie cells. Zombie cells are just cells that turn the wrong way and become damaging and run into everything and damage us from the inside. Curcumin just goes in there and cleans them out. Maybe there's cells that are meant to die and don't. That's called cell apoptosis. Curcumin causes cell apoptosis. Curcumin says, you know what, you guys need to go. We're trying to create new cells and new healthy cells here. And so curcumin does that as well. And what most people don't realize is out of the entire turmeric plant, 3% is the curcuminoids. Of those 3 curcuminoids, that 3% of the turmeric, curcumin is the most effective at reducing inflammation. And so when we go out there and say turmeric lattes are beneficial, golden milk works, I really don't think golden milk works. works because you're taking a teaspoon of regular turmeric powder and putting it into something and drinking it and saying that's enough. It's not enough for chronic inflammation, chronic joint pain, and what we're talking about. So taking a turmeric supplement that's built for potency for that high dose is going to significantly reduce inflammation. And so when people are out there buying turmeric supplements, just make sure it's not regular turmeric powder in a pill. It's a waste of your time. And make sure that out of the 3 curcuminoids, it's focused on curcumin to deliver that maximum result. And so that's been my body of work for the last 10 years. I just thought, wow, why didn't someone make a curcumin that's so strong that I could use it to hold up my immune system and help when I get pain, because I'm going to inevitably working out and living life. And so that's what I set out to create. And I created it about 10 years ago. And so I've been able to work with doctors for about 10 years now who are recommending it to their patients, which is really cool.
That's so exciting, and you've done studies on this as well? Is it
Yes. So we've used it on patients with chronic joint pain because there's actually 17,000 scientific studies in the literature now. Curcumin. There's papers and studies. And there's even double blind placebo controlled trials now on curcumin. So there was one study published in the British Medical Journal that showed that curcumin is as effective as PPIs in the body. They did that as a real trial. We've seen that a lot for chronic joint pain in the knees and things like that. People call me and say they were losing their hand function and they are able to keep it, their back pain, hip and knee pain. So that to me is really exciting that if we can take something natural for that, because historically I couldn't take NSAIDs, they hurt my stomach. And so I wanted to create a natural alternative that I could use whenever I need it.
Yeah, it's so funny. Before you came on I knew you were coming on the show, and I was, like, listening to some of your content, and my mother had been sharing with me, like, a month ago. My mother has a lot of arthritis, she's in her 70s, and she had been taking a curcumin supplement that she noticed the difference immediately, and so that's amazing because a lot of times with supplements, it can be very subtle or you don't notice right away, so yeah, that's amazing.
Correct. When you're built for potency, a lot of times it's an immediate result. And I love that. Can we do that in all supplements? No, but curcumin is one of those that if you have pain, you'll notice it. And I've seen that myself. I once sprained my ankle. And so I was taking curcumin. I was taking my turmeric gold with inflammation relief, the combo, which we have for pain. And I would take it and my pain would drop down to like a 2. And then all of a sudden, like 6 hours later, 6 hours later, it would start to rise, rise, rise. I was like, oh my God. And I'd take it again to bring it that down. So you can kind of use it that way as a painkiller. Or for people like me, usually I don't have pain, usually, but I take it as my daily preventive.
Awesome. And so if you were looking for a supplement, I know they can definitely check out yours. What other things would you look for in a supplement if you were gonna do that?
So I would look for curcumin standardized to 95%. When we're doing those standardizations, we're making sure that our extracts are meeting that standard. In my case, we excel way above it, but at least you're meeting a certain standard and you're not just giving people anything. I would make sure the label doesn't just say curcuma longa. Curcuma longa is the plant name for turmeric. So a lot of times people put curcuma longa on the plant on the supplement label and people think it's curcumin, and that's not the same. So you want it to say curcumin 95%.
Oh, cool.
And you want a full 500 milligrams of that per capsule as well, because that's how we're going to start driving that result.
Awesome. Great tips.
Yeah.
So we'd also like to ask you, how can Ayurveda help women going through perimenopause and menopause?
Great question. I'm laughing because perimenopause is a rough road. I can just imagine. I can just imagine.
I'm in it. I hear you.
Me too. I'm like, wow. I had no idea. When I was reading about perimenopause, I was like, oh, those ladies, it must not be that bad. And for the last decade, every time I spoke on stage, a woman would come up to me afterwards and say, do you have anything for menopause? I'm doing everything the same, and my body is going in a different direction. I keep gaining weight. I don't understand. Do you have anything? And I would say, no, I mean, you can take turmeric, you can reduce inflammation, you can walk more. I had no reckoning of it until I was in it. Now I'm like, wow, actually, it's a full court press plan. And Ayurveda has a lot of tools. And we kind of have to triple down on those tools. So my first tool that I use is always diet. If we can look at our food, what are we eating and how is it serving us and what is not serving us? So I'm trying to adjust my portions down a little bit because I know metabolism slows down as we age. I'm getting really detailed about nutrient density. So if I sit down and eat a meal, afterwards I'm like, did that have sprouts in it? Did you have any omega-3? Did you put any superfood on top or in there? And I'm very much paying attention to protein and making sure I get enough protein, enough fiber, enough mixture of all the superfoods and nutrients that I want to have in my diet. And we also teach about eating seasonally from Ayurveda, so we get even more nutrient density in our meals. So that's part one. Part two, I'm taking turmeric religiously because I need to know that I'm addressing inflammation that accumulates as we age. 3, sleep. I'm taking sleep tea, sleep gummy, sleep everything. I'm kind of addicted to good sleep as the foundation to having the energy that I need the next day. Ayurveda talks to us about circadian rhythm and how sleeping from 10 to 2 on the circadian clock is the most important way for us to clear inflammation. So I talked about the doshas. 10 to 2 is pitta time of day. So at night, we're meant to sleep during those hours specifically so the body can use that fire energy to clean out what does not serve, clean out the toxins, clean out anything that's accumulated. And during the day, 10 to 2 is in the circadian clock is lunchtime. It's when the fire is highest in the sky and there to process and absorb your most hard to digest meal at lunchtime. And so a lot of what we teach in Ayurveda is circadian rhythm, circadian alignment, building the rhythm of your day to be in alignment with nature as opposed to working against it. Because if we work against our own circadian clock, that's when we cause dis-ease and have fatigue and all these different issues. And so really building your rhythm is important according to your constitution. So sleep is super important. Then gut digestive fire that I mentioned. So I wake up in the morning and have ginger lemon tea. That's a way to ignite the digestive fire. We recommend using a tongue scraper, like a copper tongue scraper in Ayurveda, because when you gently scrape the tongue, you're going to ignite the digestive fire for the day, and you're also going to clean and clear all the toxins that have accumulated in the body. We teach that all the organs of the body are reflected on the tongue, just like they're reflected on the bottom of your feet. And so that's like an interesting piece of Ayurveda is our daily self-care rituals that we teach you to use as a rhythm throughout your day. And so the tongue scraper is just one example. We also teach oil pulling, and oil pulling helps to accumulate the toxins in your mouth. And then when you spit it out, you've gotten rid of that toxic burden because we know the oral microbiome is connected to the gut microbiome. So that's another key piece. And then finally, we teach a lot about just self-care. So I teach about something called tea time is me time, and just pausing in your day at different points and checking in with yourself. Have I hydrated today? Have I taken my supplements today? Have I moved enough in nature? How do I feel? Have I planned so I get to eat properly today? And just asking yourself and your intuition good questions leads to a lot of answers. Sometimes my body will say, actually, you didn't plan for a good dinner, or actually, you have too much going on this week. You need to change your schedule. And so just having that awareness is really important. And then finally, movement. We teach moving in nature as much as possible helps you to be in alignment with nature, and thus nature can heal you so you feel your best.
Wow, there's a lot going on with Ayurveda.
Yeah.
S-
Absolutely, and I love
But
the check-in thing because I think it's so often I'll just be running from one thing to the next, like, am I checking in with myself? No. And then by the end of the day, I'm probably a mess and not making great choices.
depleted, yeah.
Yeah.
So Ayurveda is like a practice of many things. And so I'm connecting like the Ayurveda with the dosha is that when you know your dosha type, then you practice these different things that within the Ayurveda umbrella according to your dosha type.
Exactly, exactly. You're able to custom build a blueprint for yourself or a life design, as I think of it, according to your dosha. So I know I'm fire and I build my whole life around it. I build my year around it, my seasons, my day, when I detox each year, my travel, the way I run my company.
Wow.
And then when it comes to my day, I have a rhythm and I live in that rhythm. It is rare that I'm not living within this rhythm that I've set of wake up, morning tea, workout or move, start your day, end cap that day with tea, and then transition to the next activity. Then again, deep sleep tea, and then move into bedtime. Like there's anchor points in the day to check in and just really tune in. I think we need more mindful moments. As women, we're just running around. And as we're going into perimenopause, menopause, if we're not checking in, we've got problems because the body is really doing so many things at once. We talk about perimenopause now as this roller coaster. Our hormones are on a roller coaster as they're heading towards menopause. When our hormones completely tank, we lose all estrogen, and then we've got heart disease, brain fog, a huge brain shift happening, and et cetera, et cetera. Like it's all an interesting shift and transition. How are we going to invest in holding ourselves at the level of vibrancy that we have now? And if we don't have a great level of vibrancy, build it so that we can then maintain it going into
Right.
these different transition points. Because these are really big transitions. And like I said, we're becoming more inflamed as we age, no matter what. Oxidative stress will increase, inflammation will increase. And we know inflammation is going to make weight loss harder, metabolism harder to maintain. In my case, that's a pretty big death sentence towards diabetes. So I have to stay really focused on that topic. I don't have a choice on it. And thus, it's just so important that we get real conscious about checking in with ourselves and doing these self care rituals, the practices that it takes.
Right. Well, the truth is that you do have a choice, right? And you're choosing that you don't have a choice, right? Because that's just to make that clear. And also, so when you work with your patients or like, and so are you helping, like, I don't like in your practice, are you helping that woman create this lifestyle, Ayurveda, like dosha plan, life plan? Is that like part of the whole thing?
Yes. So, my number one thing I do is my supplements because my goal is for every single doctor on earth when they say you have pain to say you can take turmeric for that. Because that would really change the whole trajectory of things. I have taken NSAIDs and painkillers so many times and my body never tolerated them. So, my dream is we're all using turmeric in this way that'll be gut healing, inflammation healing, and all those things. So I focus more of my energy there. But I do have a practice Ayurveda lifestyle coaching business where if people
Okay.
want help and they book a call with me, a lot of times I just do the discovery call and I can send them in the right direction. Because I've met thousands of doctors over the last few years, I can tell, oh, you need functional medicine. You actually need chiropractic. I can usually direct them in the right way. Or if they really want to work with me, we will do a full consultation and we'll figure out your dosha. We'll build a lifestyle plan for you. We'll customize your diet for your dosha and help you write out that plan so you can go out and execute it for yourself.
Well, that sounds freaking amazing. So
Yeah.
being mindful of our time today, Dr. Shivani, and all that you've just said, but like to simplify something, like what are two things that we can do today to lower inflammation?
Number one, utilize turmeric. It is the number one spice out of Mother Earth that helps us to reduce inflammation, and it's guaranteed. There's 17,000 scientific studies that prove it will reduce your inflammation. That's my number one. Number two, build in a self care rhythm into your life that's so good, that feels so good, that involves movement, that involves honoring sleep, that involves honoring your gut, that involves detoxing so that you can truly thrive. Because, like we talked about, perimenopause and menopause is no joke. So, we need to have those rhythms in place to support us, even if we're not feeling great, because we're going to have those days where we're not feeling as awesome as we once did. We don't have the energy we once did. But by having that anchor point of self care and in a rhythm in our lives, everything gets easier. Everything is just able to be within that structure. And then you can always reach for more self care as needed.
And I just to be clear, when you talk, you said turmeric, get like turmeric and like to deal with inflammation. Like, so for example, in my cupboard, I have turmeric seasoning.
Yeah.
Is that good enough?
In my opinion, no. A lot of people are buying fresh turmeric and juicing it. I think that's okay. I'm sure it benefits some, but
Okay.
then you take turmeric fresh and you dry it into the spice. Using the spice is great. When you're cooking with turmeric, the spice, put it into use black pepper or a healthy fat to increase that absorption because that's very
Mm.
important. Turmeric doesn't easily absorb on its own. And then when you want significant reduction of inflammation, that's where you reach for curcumin extracts and curcumin
Okay.
supplementation. And I do think as we age, we need to be pretty heavy hitting on our approach to inflammation reduction. It's inevitable as we age. And it is typically the culprit behind what's affecting people so much and why they're not feeling good, why they've got headaches, brain fog, skin issues. I was just talking to my best friend today. She's like, everything's going downhill. And I was like, well, yeah, but if we address inflammation and we improve gut health and we improve self care and sleep, we'll win. And she was like, okay, glad you enjoy those things.
I love that though. That's so helpful. And I'm so glad you're getting this message out because I can't believe like I've never heard of this. I mean, using Advil was my go-to and I can't believe there's something better that I could have tried.
Mm.
So, and even for my mother, that she was in her 70s and just discovered this. And honestly, a doctor didn't even tell her. So I'm glad you're telling doctors about this too.
Yeah, that's my dream is we're going to run to the doctor when we're in pain. And if we just expand their toolkit to involve more natural tools, how cool would that be?
It would be so cool. It's awesome. Everyone to know you can connect with Shivani on Instagram and YouTube. Her handle is at Dr. Gupta. She is also on Facebook at the Shivani Gupta and check out her podcast, the Fusionary Health Podcast. And she also has a 7-day inflammation detox challenge with free videos. And we will link this in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It was a great conversation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
The information provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, curing, treating, or preventing any disease. We are functional medicine certified health coaches and not licensed medical professionals. The opinions and advice of guests are their own and also not considered to be medical advice. Always consult with a healthcare professional when making any healthy lifestyle changes. We would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment or review. Email us at info@functionalmoms.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button.